Hi everybody, Hades from AggroGamer here, doing another video review, and this time it's for Anomaly 2. It's a different twist on the tower defense setup for a game, but it would still be considered a tower defense. I'm going to go through and tell you what I loved, hated, and my overall feeling on whether or not you should purchase this game. So without further ado, let's get into this.
Hated.
To be honest, there's not much I hated about Anomaly 2 outside of the difficulty seemed to not skew properly. At some point, from what I remember, there's 4 different difficulties, and ranging from casual to ridiculously hard. And some levels, obviously when you play it ridiculously hard, it should be a challenge, and it really, really is. But I've tried to go through and play a couple of the other ones to collect up some of the gold medallions and other things just to make sure I've got a well-rounded experience on it. Played through on casual, and some levels were a little harder on casual than they were on ridiculously hard. It just doesn't seem like casual mode, which would be considered easy, should be as difficult as it actually was. But unfortunately, it was a lot harder than it should have been, and that falls into one of the things I hated about it. 'Cause I like to have a nice little, rise to my difficulty, not a easy, ridiculously hard, even if you're playing on easy, and ridiculously hard if you're playing on insane mode. The other thing I hated about it was you would accidentally skip cutscenes just by pressing the prompts that you had on the screen, or if you were forcing a march for your units. A couple of times I missed part of the story and had to replay a level because I was force marching some of my units to get to their next objection, to get to their next kills, whatever. And to do so, you had to hold down one of the trigger buttons, and your units would speed on through. If you're doing that and there's a cutscene or a bit of dialogue, it actually skips some of it. So it doesn't continue off or whatever, or slow you down when it gets to those portions, unless it's like a tutorial type cutscene. So there's a little bit of the story that I had to replay and I missed while I was playing the game because of the using the own game mechanic, which you're supposed to use, and it would just destroy. It kind of broke up the story. It was a little jarring at first.
Loved.
So what did I love about the game? Anomaly 2 is I've played a lot of tower defense, and not very many tower defenses let you play the units on the ground. Instead, you're the one commanding all of the towers to be positioned on stuff, which goes into the multiplayer, which I'll get into later. But the core story of it has you playing the ground units, and you're playing a commander who goes through and aids your own units that you have trying to take down all of the towers to get from objective to objective. I really like the twist on that style of gameplay. It's not done very often, and that is it's good to see that a company's trying to push forward and create something new and unique. And I really think that they have this nailed down in Anomaly 2, because it's not your standard build a tower, hope you defend against the enemy, build another tower, hope you defend against the enemy. No, it actually has you going through. Not to mention, not very many other tower defense let you dynamically change your path along the way, which is another thing I loved. Is normally in a tower defense, somebody builds a maze and you have to go through it, and you're kind of locked in if you've chosen a specific path. In Anomaly 2, you can change your path at any time, as long as there's a hub to change on, mind you. Like, you still have certain paths, but if you want to turn left instead of turn right, because you see there's a group of towers here but not over here, you're allowed to do that. Or if you're trying to just go through and murder everything, you can turn left and keep going in a loop until you kill all the towers. And to me, that's just something, it's a nice little feature to add in to a tower defense. On top of that, having your own little command unit on the ground, so it's not just you setting your units and going, walk this path, no, change paths, go this way. Your own unit is in there morphing your units between 1 and 2 different forms. There's obviously a fast form and that moves a lot faster, kills a lot, deals out more damage but less armor. Then you have your other form, which deals out less damage, moves a little slower but has more armor, so you can get through certain things. And they all have their own little special abilities. And On top of that, so does your commander. Your commander can go through and heal your units, they can go and distract the towers, they can do all of that. And that's another thing I loved about Anomaly 2. The last thing I loved about Anomaly 2 is the multiplayer, where at that point you get to swap too. So it's not just you playing the ground units. During the multiplayer, you can play the enemy towers, and you're setting up your own defense, and you get your own set of abilities to take down the hero units as they try to come at you, and vice versa. And you could swap and play either side, and I really, really enjoyed that. It keeps the game feeling fresh and unique each time. So it's not just you go through, finish it, and you're done. There's a lot of replay value to Anomaly 2.
Overview.
So in the end, should you buy Anomaly 2? Should you play it? I would say I enjoyed it enough, and I've actually loved playing it, that it's overtaken some of my other games that I've had to play, just because it's a fun and addictive game. Even though, yes, it falls under the tower defense type of mechanic, which isn't everybody's cup of tea, Anomaly 2 gives you enough break, enough freedom, and enough variations to actually make the game feel new and unique. And the only other gripe I would have, outside of what I've already listed in my hated, is that it does require you to have, in my instance, PlayStation Plus. I'm assuming all the other platforms have their own paid multiplayer platform. So unless you're subscribing to those platforms, you kind of can't play multiplayer. But fortunately, most of us do. So multiplayer is a nice little, not only does it keep the story fresh, it keeps the whole game fresh. And to be honest, probably when I'm done with this, I'm going to end up playing some more multiplayer, and probably going through and trying to collect all of the cool little medals that you can collect along the storyline of Anomaly 2. So, lo and behold, yes, I do say Anomaly 2 is worth the price of admission. I completely recommend buying it, and all the information will be at the bottom of this page.